This discussions today. That's what I'm a little worried about. All right. This obviously it says in here, and there's a video. I went over directions and all this stuff, but this is what should be turned in. On the bottom here is the order it should be turned in. It is one PDF for your original one, not for extra credit, but it is one PDF and it goes in this order. Your questions and responses, those have to be in MLA format. These are not just copied and paste one and then an answer, two and then an answer, three and then an answer. If you want it to be question and answer, then you have to give me the question and then you have to give me the answer. And then you have to give me the question and then you have to give me the answer, okay? And it has to be MLA, which means margins and double spacing and header on that paper. If you want to do it more like conversational and you want to make it a paragraph, that's fine. It cannot be, she went to UCF, period. She took blah, 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 blah. Like if you are telling somebody, I interviewed my sister. My sister is a sophomore at UCF. Like that would be the only exception. So it's either conversational, in which I should know the question. I should be able to hand that to somebody that knows nothing about this project and they would know what happened in that interview. Or you do question and answer, question and answer. They still should be complete sentences, okay? They should be capital like I's. I'm not going to get you on like, it's passive voice or anything like that, right? But don't put like you, as in the letter U, in place of the word you. Like a little bit of intelligent grammar should be in there, okay? It is the question and answers first. And again, this is on the PDF that I went over with you, and it's on the PDF that's on the assignment. Let's see if I can get them. No. Google Slides is not your question and answer. Google Slides could be your extra credit. The original to be handed in question and responses is MLA format. So I would say Pages or Google Docs is how you want to create that, because it will do the margins and it will do the headers. Then your 8-semester track or your plan of study is a screenshot. So after your questions and answers in MLA format will then come a screenshot of your 8-semester track. And that is for you, the university you are looking into, the major you want to do. The course description is a screenshot of the course that you interviewed them about. So if whoever it is going to NYU and they are studying law and they took pre-calc, then I should see a course description from NYU for pre-calc. It should match up, okay? Then comes your budget. My recommendation was to use numbers. It's very easy. It makes it pretty for you. But it has to be typed. You're not like whiting out my example budget and you're writing janky, your little numbers in there. Like, no. Take the time to do it, okay? And then the MLA works cited, which is citing all the sources. And I indicated you have at minimum your interview, the person you interviewed is a source. The school that you want to go to where you got your plan of study is a source. The course description of what you interviewed them about is a source, and then any financial information. So if you are planning to go to UM and you went to UM's website and you Googled fees on UM, that is a source. So at minimum, you've got 4. It obviously could be more if you're starting to look for apartments and that kind of stuff, or you're trying to figure out scholarships, then it would be more. And it all has to be one PDF file in the order that it is. Then your extra credit opportunity is to summarize the information in a digital format. Do not copy and paste all your information and make it like boring and awful. I'd rather like almost no words and some visual stuff that would make this to be a little bit entertaining, okay? It can be a PowerPoint keynote, Google Slides, Prezi, animation, like a website, anything that is interactive multimedia, okay? And again, introduce yourself, your choice of major, college, whatever. Who'd you interview? What'd you learn about? What did you learn by creating your budget? And then a source page. That's the only thing that can be like screenshot and added in at the end, okay? The rubric is literally on the assignment. If you don't take the time to look at that rubric, I don't know what to do with you. Like I am trying to give you 100, maybe 105 for doing what I'm asking you to do. But if you don't follow these things and you don't do it correctly, you are only shooting yourself in the foot. Yeah. Question 1 says find the equation in standard form of the equation of a circle with the given information, center at 6, -3, and the point on the circle, -2, 4. So one of the formulas you had to know was the standard form of the circle. which is x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. And what you just got given was your center, which is your h and your k, and your coordinate point, which is x and y. So I'm going to take those things and I'm going to plug them in. So x, which is -2, minus h, which is 6 squared, plus y, which is 4, minus a -3, which becomes plus 3 squared, equals your r squared. So then I'd get -8 squared plus 7 squared equals r squared. 64 plus 49 equals r squared. 113 equals r squared. And if it had said to find the center and the radius, then I would have to square root that to get the radius, but it's not asking that. It's asking you to give the equation. So I'm going to leave it squared because that's how it is in the equation. I'd get x minus h squared plus y minus a -3 becomes plus 3 squared equals 113. And then there's the standard form of your circle. Questions on that one?
It's the standard form of the circle is x minus h squared plus
Y minus k squared equals r squared. So you got to know that for today's, and then parabola was, up till today. And then today we're going to add on ellipses. If it's on this warm-up, it's on your quiz. You need to know it. And then we're going to add on ellipses. All right, number 2, write the equation of the circle in standard form, then identify its center and its radius. So now I've got something that's in expanded form or general form, and I need to put it into standard form. There's an x squared and an x and a y squared and a y, which means you're going to complete the square for both variables. So I'm going to group together the x's. 9x squared plus 54x, and then 9y squared minus 36y. And it equals, I'm moving the 17 to the other side, so -17. They both have something attached to the squared term, so you have to factor it out. So I'm going to take out the 9 here, and I get x squared plus 6x. Leave your space. And then I take out the 9 here as well. 9y squared minus 4y. Leave your space. -17. If I could divide by that 9 and have it go evenly and all the way across, like even to the 17, then I would do it. It would make your life easier, but you can't. So instead of having the fraction then, I wait, but you can have divided now. It's up to you. Now I got to fill those spaces. So I take the 6, I divide it by 2, that's 3, I squared, it's 9. I add the 9 here. And then before I add it to the -17, I have to multiply by what I took out. So I'm actually adding 9 times 9, or 81. Then I do the same thing for the second one, for the y's. 4 divided by 2 is 2. 2 squared is 4. I add the 4 here. And I would normally add the 4, but before I do that, I have to multiply by that, 9. So I'm adding 36. And when I combine them, so 81, 36, 117 minus 17 is 100. I'm going to factor the left side as well. So 9 times x plus 3 squared plus 9 times y minus 2 squared equals 100. And then a circle cannot have a coefficient. So the last thing you're going to do is divide everything by 9. And I'd get x plus 3 squared plus y minus 2 squared equals 100 over 9. Yep.
and you're always adding it to the right side, right?
Yep. Whatever you do on the left, you got to do to the right.
Okay.
Yep. So what's the center of this?
-3, 2.
Good. And what's the radius?
100
Square root. What's square root of 100? 10. What's square root of 9?
Number 3.
Yep. So there were 3 parts to that. This guy and those. Questions? You are going to have to complete this go error once, if not twice, on the quiz. So make sure you are good on it. Yeah.
If we put the square in it, like, it wouldn't go in equally, you can take something out. Like for the 9, it was like another number.
So if it's a circle, if it's a circle, the coefficients will have to be the same. Otherwise, it makes it an ellipse, which we're going to do today. Is that what you mean? Like they both 9 canceled into both of them?
No, like when you took out the 9 and you divided
Oh, could it happen? Sure, it would be a fraction on the inside. Does that exist in complete the square? Yes. Yeah. We tend to go harder when we do this complete the square for quadratic than when we do conics. Conics tends to be prettier numbers, but they don't have to be. Yeah.
When you add it, can it ever be less than the
If it is, you can't do it for a circle. If it is, it would be a negative radius and that wouldn't exist. So in the world of complete the square, yes. If it's a circle, no. Like a negative can be on the front of when you do a parabola, you could have a negative there. Not for a circle. It can't be. You can't have a negative radius squared. Yeah. An ellipse, all the signs would be different. They'd all end up going back positive. So a parabola and a hyperbola, if you remember hyperbolas, those can have different things. All right, 3 says find the intercepts of the graphs of the circle. So if I wanted to find the x-intercepts, what do I do? Good. I'm going to say x plus 5 squared plus 0 minus 4 squared equals 25. X plus 5 squared plus 16 equals 25. X plus 5 squared equals 9. And then I would square root both sides, putting a plus and minus in front of that 9. And I get x plus 5 equals plus and minus 3. Subtract the 5. And I have 2 answers. Positive 3 minus 5, which is negative 2. Negative 3 minus 5, which is negative 8. So I got negative 2, 0, and negative 8, 0 for my x-intercepts. For my y-intercepts, I'm going to plug 0 in for x. 0 plus 5 squared plus y minus 4 squared equals 25. 5 squared, y minus 4 squared. Subtract the 25 and it cancels. I get y minus 4 squared equals 0. Plus and minus the square root again, but it's still just 0. And I get y equals 4. So when the y-intercept, when x is 0, y is 4. And then it says find the standard form of the equation if you're given a vertex at 0, 0 and a focus at negative 2, 0. So this is a parabola. Vertex 0, 0, focus negative 2, 0. Which direction does this parabola face? Left, right? It goes around the focus. Which means which variable is squared? The y. And is 4p positive or negative? Good. Y is squared, negative 4p. It has a vertex at 0, 0, so I know my equation is y squared equals 4p times x. So I get y squared equals, I know I'm going to make it negative, negative 4 times, how do I know what p is? Good. Count the distance from the vertex to the focus, which would be? 2. And I get y squared equals negative 16x. Negative 8. Thank you. Questions on that one? All right, last 2. 5, find the vertex, the focus, and directrix of the parabola and sketch its graph. So we are completing the square again, but this time only one variable is squared, so just the y's are what I'm worried about. I get y squared minus 4y equals 4x. Take the 4, divide it by 2, it's 2 squared, it's 4. Add the 4 and add the 4. Factor the left side, it's y minus 2 squared equals, remember these can't stay attached. So I take out a 4 and I get x plus 1. So what do you know about this parabola?
It's
Sideways?
Yeah.
Positive 4p tells you?
To the right.
To the right. So my vertex, and be careful because most of your brains go directly from like negative 2 being the x, which it's not. The vertex is negative 1, 2. So negative 1, 2, and it literally points to the side. The focus, if 4p equals 4, p is 1. So the focus is 1 unit to the right from your vertex. which would be 0, 2. And the directrix is 1 unit to the left. And it's a vertical line. So the directrix is x equals negative 2. You go inside the scoop, the p. So if 4p equals 4, p is 1. So I went to the right one, that's my focus. I went to the left one, that's my directrix. All right, 6, find the standard form of the equation of the parabola with a vertex of 5, 2 and a focus of 3, 2. So you don't have to draw it, but that's how I figure out what I'm looking at. So I would recommend it, but people can do this without. Tell me what you know about this. It goes to the left. What does that mean as far as an equation goes?
4 y squared.
It's a y squared. It's a negative 4p. And speaking of p, what would p be here? 2. It's not at 0, 0 anymore. So it's y minus k squared equals 4px minus h. So it's y minus 2 squared equals 4 times 2, which is 8, x minus 5. The y is the only one that's squared.
How would you know?
Is ellipses. This is the second type of conic. Third, because we did circles, we did parabolas, okay? Ellipses are your ovals. So an ellipse could look like this. They can be horizontal or they could be vertical, which means they're taller than they are wide, okay? It, by definition, is the set of all points in a plane whose sum of the distance from two distinct fixed points, which is called foci, is constant, okay? You just have to know it is not circular. It has to be wider than it is tall, even if it's a little bit, or taller than it is wide, okay? Which we're going to learn about vertices, co-vertices, and foci, and your center, for an ellipse. There are two axes on an ellipse. One is the minor axis and one is the major axis. The major is the longer of the two. The minor is the shorter of the two. So if it's a horizontal ellipse, then the major axis will be horizontal, the minor will be vertical. If it's a vertical ellipse, then the major is vertical and the minor is horizontal. The ends of the major axis are where the vertices lie. So there are two types of vertices, vertices and co-vertices. Vertices are on the longer one. So if it's vertical, then they're at the top and the bottom. If it's horizontal, they're on the right and the left. It is, again, the ends of your major axis. The co-vertices are at the ends of your minor axis. This is on another slide too, but they would be the ends of the minor axis. The chord joining those vertices, major axis, the chord joining the the co-vertices would be the minor axis, and the center obviously is the center of the ellipse. So just like the center of the circle is right there in the middle, that's the same case here. The standard form, the standard form of an ellipse centered at 0, 0 depends on whether the major axis is horizontal or vertical. And the way you find this out is which variable has the bigger denominator, which is on the next slide. So if x squared is over a bigger number than the y squared is over, then it is wider than it is tall. It makes it horizontal. If the y squared has the bigger denominator, now it's vertical, okay? It's taller than it is wide. If you look at the parts of this, the center is literally at the center. The center will be a coordinate point at the middle. On these examples, it's at 0, 0. The A is the distance from the center to the vertices. The B is the distance from the center to the co-vertices. And the F is the distance from the center. And the C is the distance from the center to the foci. There are two focuses which plural of focus is foci. Yeah. Both the vertices and the foci lie on your major axis. The co-vertices lie on your minor axis. But it's always the same A, B, C. A, center to vertex. B, center to foci. C, center to co-vertices. No, I just said the wrong thing. A, center to vertex. B, center to co-vertex. C, center to foci. Like if you think about focus, has a C in it. That's your C. When it's vertical, all the same rules apply. All the A, the B, the C still represent the same thing. The difference is that instead of going right and left, my vertice and my foci, I go up and down because that's where my major vertex is. If you are, so that you can either look at a graph and have to get the equation, you could look at the equation, get the graph, maybe they give you information of it, you're getting the equation or the graph. When the center is at 0, 0, the standard form is x squared over a squared plus y squared over b squared equals 1 for a horizontal ellipse. It is y squared over a squared plus x squared over b squared equals 1 for a vertical. Now, order does not matter. The x can come first, the y can come first. It doesn't matter. What does matter is where the a is, and the a is the biggest denominator. So if the A is under the X, if the bigger denominator is under the X, it is horizontal. If the bigger number is under the Y, it is vertical. And again, order doesn't matter because it's a plus there. You could literally switch them around. The relationship between C, A, and B is important because you'll usually get given enough information to get 2 of those, and then you have to find it using C squared equals A squared minus B squared. The length of the major axis is 2A, and the length of the minor axis is 2B. If you think about it, major, we go up and down or right and left A, so it would be 2A. And minor, we'd go up and down or right and left B, which means the minor would be 2B. God bless you. This chart, like people like to memorize this chart. To me, if you could draw it out and like plot your points, it's going to be easier. Like especially if you're a visual person, like you can plot it, it's easier. But like obviously it relates to this box which says if it's horizontal, I'm going right and left my A, so the X is changing. If it's vertical, I'm going up and down my A, so the Y is changing. So if you look, the A is in the X position on horizontal, but it's in the Y position on vertical. So it depends on which direction you move. Again, I would say understanding how to draw these is going to be more helpful than this chart. All right, then what happens if my center is not at 0, 0? The only thing that changes in the beginning formulas are you have to subtract the H from the X and the K from the Y. Always H with X, always K with Y. And then, to me, this is where the chart gets more complicated. If you understand what you're doing from your points, then you don't have to stress out about memorizing this chart. If you know where your center is, and it's vertical, you're going to go up and down A. You're going to go right and left B. If it's horizontal, you're going to know where your center is. You're going to go right and left A. You're going to go up and down B. So that is easier to plot, in my opinion, than it is to memorize this chart. But if you like a chart, it's there, okay? Notice all these equations end with equals 1. Standard form has to be equal to 1. All right, first example. It says find the standard form of the equation of an ellipse, having foci at 0, 1 and 4, 1 and a major axis, of length 6. So the first thing I do is plot the information they gave me. Foci at 0, 1 and 4, 1. If you did the major axis? Yeah. Before you even get there, though, like what do you know about the shape of this? Is it vertical or horizontal? Why is it horizontal? Foci is on the major axis. So foci, right, goes, if it's going right and left, this is horizontal. And if it's horizontal, which variable gets your A? X. We're going to add stuff in, but that stuff I already know. Is my center at 0, 0? No. How do I know where my center is? It's literally the midpoint between those two. You can count it. You could look at it visually, whatever. You could add them and find the midpoint, however you need to do that. But my center, halfway between the foci, which is 2 what?
2, 1.
Good. So I can already do all my numerators because it's x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals 1. That you already know. It's x minus, so once you find your center and you know it's horizontal, then you know that you can do all the tops. X minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals 1.
That's just the answer.
No, I'm not done. Now I got to figure out A, B, C, right? Because in my formula I need A and B, and the only thing I have so far is C. What is C? From your graph, like, can you figure out C if you have the foci? It's 2. It's the distance from the center to the foci on either side. So C is 2. Now that doesn't go in my formula, but I need that to get what does go in my formula. All right, so now I've taken all the information I can from the foci. The second piece of information that they're given is what? Major axis is 6. Major axis equals what? 2A. So if 6 equals 2A, A is 3. Which variable got the A? The x, and it's a squared, right? So this, again, I already know is 9. Now all I have to do is find my b squared. I have a, I have c, so I use c squared equals a squared minus b squared. I squared the a, so a is 3. Yep. Yep. So 4 equals 9 minus b squared. Negative b squared equals negative 5, which means b squared would equal 5. Now all it wants is the equation, so I don't even have to find b, because in my equation it's b squared. So my 5 goes under the y minus 1, and that's the standard form of my equation. If it wanted you to graph it, then I would have gone right and left the 3 from the center to get the vertices. I would have approximated the square root of 5 to be like a 2.1. I would have gone up 2.1, down 2.1, and then connect those points to make your ellipse.
Where's the 2.1?
Like if b squared is 5, b is the square root of 5, and we would approximate it if it's not a perfect square. Yeah. B? Oh, vertices. I went right and left A. So my A was 3. So from my center, I go right and left 3.
For these, would we have to finish drawing the ellipse?
No. But you're going to get questions that say, here's information graph, or here's equation graph, and then you're going to get other ones, here's information, give the equation. So you're going to have to go both ways.
If you weren't given the focus, but instead given that equation, would you be able to find the focus?
Yeah, because B would be the square root of 5, A would be the square root of 9, and then C squared equals A squared minus B squared.
Oh,
So they'll always give you enough information to know 2 of those 3 letters. Yep.
How did you get the color?
You would have gone up and down square root 5, which we approximated. Yep. The next one says, sketch the ellipse given by the following equation. Identify the center and the vertices. So this is an equation, but is it in standard form? No. How do I know it's in standard form? It has to equal 1. So how do I get 36 to become 1? Divide by 36. I have to divide each of these parts by 36. So I get x squared over 9 plus y squared over 36 equals 1. Tell me what you know.
It's vertical.
It's vertical because
Y is vertical.
the denominator underneath the y is bigger. Okay, what else? So A is the bigger one. Remember, order doesn't matter. A is 6, B is 3. What else do you know? What's the numerator tell you?
It's the 0.
The center, right? Center is 0, 0. It's like the one thing, it should be the first thing that you notice, but it's like one of the last things that people tend to think of.
I thought if it was just like, because never mind.
And then we need this C as well.
Huh? Yeah, because it says identify the center and the vertices, I really only need the A and the B. If it had said foci, then I would need C, okay? But 36, I divided, so it's got to be equal to 1. So you got to divide by 36. So my center is at 0, 0. We said it's vertical, so I'm going up and down A, which is 6. And the B is 3. I go right and left B. And then draw yourself a little ellipse. And it says identify. So I have the center. My vertices are the A's. So -6, 0. Nope, sorry. 0. -6 and 0. 6. Nobody's going to judge you on the drawing of your oval. And your co-vertices would be -3, 0, and 3, 0. Again, if it wanted foci, you'd have to do c squared equals a squared minus b squared, and then add and subtract that from the 0. Okay on that one? All right, now it says graph the ellipse, identify the center, vertices, and foci. What's different about this guy? We get to complete the square. Yes, so if you see an x squared and an x, or a y squared and a y, you have to complete the square. So we're going to group them. X squared minus 8y, oh wow, I just grouped the wrong ones, plus 6x, plus 4y squared minus 8y, equals, bump the 9 to the other side, so it's -9.
So then you're just saying how you can group the graph. 6 divided by 2 squared
Is
39.
good, so I add the 9, and then for the second one, you got to take the 4 out. Because you can't have anything attached to the squared term. Now I find the missing term, 2 divided by 2 squared is 2 divided by 2 is 1. 1 squared is 1. Add the 1. Before you add the 1 to the other side, though, you have to multiply it by the 4. So if you take something out, you have to multiply it by what you're adding before you add it. All right, so now I've made it perfect squares. So I'm going to factor x plus 3 squared plus 4 times y minus 1 squared equals positive 4. Now what? Divide by 4. It's got to be equal to 1. So I get x plus 3 squared over 4 plus y minus 1 squared. I don't need it, but I think it's helpful to put it over 1 so you remember that that is still an a or a b, or a squared or a b squared, equals 1. So here's, God bless you, the standard form. Now tell me what you know. The center is -3, 1. Is it vertical or horizontal? Horizontal, because the bigger number is under the x. Speaking of the bigger number, a squared is 4. Good, so a is 2. What is b squared?
Because the bigger number, the first number is
What?
it's an x, and x is horizontal.
No, it's 1. Yeah. All right, so bigger one is a squared, that's 4, so a is 2. Smaller one is b squared, that is 1, so b is 1. In this directions, it asks for foci, which tells you you're going to have to get c. You don't need c to graph it, but it asks for your foci, so you're going to have to get it anyways. So c squared equals a squared minus b squared. C squared would equal 4 minus 1. C squared would equal 3. C equals the square root of 3. We're going to have a love-hate relationship. So the center's negative 3, 1, right? And it's horizontal, which means I go right and left, the C we just found. So if I go left, I'm subtracting it. And if I go right, I'm adding it. Those are your foci. So when I graph it, my center's at negative 3, 1. I'd go right and left 2, because that's my A. I go up and down 1, because that's my B. Draw your ellipse. If I had estimated and graphed my C, I'm going to approximate square root 3 to be a little bit less than 2. So I would literally plot less than 2. It doesn't have to be perfect, but less than 2. Those 2 dots would be your foci. All right, we're going to do this last one, and then we're going to call it quits for the day. So group the x's. 4x squared minus 8x. Group the y's. Y squared plus 4y. Bump the 8 to the other side. Take out the 4. 4x squared minus 2x. Plus the y squared plus 4y get grouped together. Equals 8. Take the 2, divide it by 2. It's 1 squared, it's 1. I'm adding a 1 here. I would normally add it here, but I have to multiply by the 4 first. So I'm adding 4. Repeat the process for the y's. 4 divided by 2 is 2. 2 squared is 4. Add the 4. This time I just add the 4. There's nothing to multiply by. This becomes x minus 1 squared. This becomes y plus 2 squared equals 16. Can't equal 16, has to equal 1, so we divide. God bless you.
Thank you. So it's vertical.
It's vertical. The bigger base is under the y. My center, 1, negative 2. My a squared is 16. My a is 4. My b squared is 4. My b is 2. C squared would equal 16 minus 4. Or square root 12, which is 2 root 3. And that would go left and right. So I'd be taking my center, 1 plus and minus 2 root 3.
Hey, why would it go like that if it's vertical?
Ah, good catch. That would go for my y. Thank you. Negative 1 and then negative 2 plus and minus 2 root 3. So then my center is 1, negative 2. Vertical, so I'm going up and down 4. Right and left 2. Draw your ellipse. The last thing in this section mentions eccentricity, and I think almost every question on the homework asks for it, which is why I go over it, but I will not include it in your quiz. So at this point, you know everything you need to know for your quiz, okay? I want you to do the homework, but you can leave the eccentricity. I'm going to make it due Wednesday because C period was a disaster anyways. I'm going to make it due Wednesday, but that means that you're going to have to do the quiz review tomorrow in addition to it. Do not save this whole thing for tomorrow. You will not have time to do both. And if you do, you'll whine about how much you had to do and I won't feel bad. Okay, so again, each question asks for the eccentricity. Just skip it for now and we'll talk about it tomorrow.